Life has a way of revealing truths we often ignore, especially when it comes to human relationships. You've heard about no contact, you've tried silence, and maybe you've even convinced yourself that distance would make someone respect your value. But today, I want you to stay with me until the very end of this message because I'm about to show you something far more powerful, far more painful to those who took you for granted, and far more transformative for your life. And before we begin, kindly subscribe to this channel to stay connected to the deepest Stoic wisdom that will protect your mind and strengthen your inner world. Most people believe silence is the strongest response. But silence only works on people who have empathy. It only hurts those who still care. The truth is simple. Some people are not moved by your absence because they never valued your presence. And this is where a more powerful Stoic lesson comes in, something Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, and even Einstein understood deeply. Your greatest power is not silence, but evolution. You heal, you grow, and you rise beyond the version of yourself they once had access to. So listen closely as we break this down step by step, with real stories, real psychology, and real Stoic insight. This will change the way you handle disrespect forever. 1. The Stoic shift that hurts more than silence. There is a moment when a person expects to find you where they left you. They assume you're still hurt, still waiting, still hoping they will come back. This expectation is emotional laziness, the comfort of believing you'll remain the same. But the Stoics understood something sharper. People are not wounded by your silence, they are wounded when you outgrow the version of yourself they believed they controlled. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the greatest revenge is not anger, but refusing to be the same person who was wronged. When someone returns and finds you transformed, it hits deeper than any silent treatment. One of the strongest real-life examples is when someone walks away believing you'll stay emotionally stuck. They think time will freeze around your feelings, that your heart will remain an open door. But when they come back and find a stronger, calmer, more focused you, the kind of person who no longer needs validation, it creates a shock they never expected. This is what Einstein meant when he said you cannot solve a problem with the same mind that created it. When you elevate your mind, the old version of you dies, and the person who once hurt you is forced to confront the reality that they no longer matter in your emotional universe. Seneca warned that people often test your weakness to confirm their power. Some individuals only feel strong when they feel you are still emotionally attached. So when your silence is paired with growth, real, visible, undeniable growth, their illusion collapses. It's not the absence that hurts them, it's the upgrade. They expected isolation to break you, but instead it became the environment where you built yourself. Epictetus always taught that the real chains are internal. So when someone returns and finds that you have broken those mental chains, they face a truth they can't escape. The story they created about you is no longer true. This shift becomes even more powerful when you stop trying to prove anything. The Stoics believed deeply in self-containment, the idea that your progress is not meant to impress others but to liberate yourself. And ironically, this is what makes it hit harder. When a person sees that your new life is not a performance, not a manipulation, not an attempt to get them back, but a genuine transformation, it shakes their ego to the core. They realize they are no longer the center of your emotional world. Real maturity comes when you stop waiting for closure from the person who hurt you. Closure is not given, it is created. And nothing hurts the one who wronged you more than realizing they no longer have emotional access to you. Growth becomes your boundary. Peace becomes your shield. Evolution becomes your message. So as you continue listening, don't forget to subscribe, because the next lessons will take you even deeper into Stoic wisdom that can protect your heart and elevate your entire life. 2. The evolution they never expected. People often assume you're healing at the pace they imagine. They expect your silence to mean you're frozen in the same emotional state. But the truth is that silence becomes powerful only when it is paired with transformation. Marcus Aurelius wrote that, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." When your thoughts shift from hurt to purpose, from confusion to clarity, your entire life changes. You no longer respond from pain, you respond from wisdom. And nothing bruises the ego of someone who underestimated you more than realizing they miscalculated your strength. One of the most real examples happens after breakups or betrayals. The person who left assumes you're still monitoring them, still thinking about them, still replaying old memories. But then they see your life moving in a direction they never imagined. Not a fake glow up, not a forced image. A real shift, a calmness, a new social circle, a new discipline. Seneca said that a person's true power is revealed when they have mastered themselves, not when they have controlled others. When someone realizes you no longer orbit around their decisions, it forces them to see the limits of their influence. Einstein once explained that growth requires a new level of thinking. You cannot elevate your life with the same mindset that tolerated disrespect. So when someone returns and meets a wiser version of you, someone who understands boundaries, self-worth, and peace, it breaks the story they created about you. They expected to find you wounded, but instead they find you awakened. It's not silence that hurts them, it's the transformation silence created in you. Epictetus taught that we are disturbed not by events, but by the meanings we attach to them. Once you change your interpretation of what happened, the person who hurt you no longer has emotional power. You begin to see their actions as lessons, not punishments. You understand that their behavior reflected their inner chaos, not your value. And this understanding frees you. Nothing impacts a person more than discovering you no longer need them. Neediness once gave them power, independence takes it away. Your silence is replaced by calm decisions. Your weakness is replaced by purpose. Your confusion is replaced by focus. They don't feel the sting of your absence, they feel the sting of your upgrade. This is the moment you reclaim your life. You invest in your body, your mind, your career, your creativity, your spiritual grounding. You reconnect with yourself deeply. You rebuild your identity around your growth, not around their presence. And when they come back, because they always do, they face a version of you they can't manipulate, can't destabilize, and can't define anymore. The most painful thing for the one who hurt you is recognizing they lost access to the old version of you forever. And this, right here, is the evolution that hurts more than silence, becoming someone they can no longer reach. Someone they can no longer shake. Someone they can no longer use. If you're ready for the next step, stay with me, because what comes next will make you even stronger. 3. The Stoic response they never forget. When someone wrongs you, they expect emotional chaos. They expect anger, arguments, explanations, breakdowns, long messages, and desperate attempts to fix things. They expect a version of you that reacts from pain. But Stoicism teaches the exact opposite. Marcus Aurelius said to meet insult with silence and indifference. Not because you're weak, but because you're too centered to be dragged into someone else's emotional storm. The moment you stop reacting is the moment you reclaim power. But this section goes deeper, because there is something more painful than your silence. It's your composure. Your emotional self-control becomes a mirror that exposes their lack of discipline. They feel naked in front of your calmness. Seneca once wrote that the greatest punishment for the wrongdoer is seeing you unaffected. When a person realizes they can no longer trigger you, their influence collapses instantly. Let's use a real-life example. Imagine someone who mistreated you suddenly tries to provoke you again, expecting the old reactions. But instead of anger, you respond with maturity. Instead of explanations, you respond with boundaries. Instead of desperation, you respond with clarity. This emotional evolution is not just noticeable, it's unforgettable. It's the moment they realize you're not the person they once emotionally controlled. Epictetus taught that true freedom is the ability to choose your response. So when you respond from your higher self, the wrongdoer has no power left. They can't manipulate someone who is self-governed. They can't destabilize someone who is emotionally anchored. Your calmness becomes a message they can't ignore. Einstein said that energy cannot be destroyed, only transformed. That applies to emotions too. Instead of wasting your energy proving your worth, you transform that energy into purpose, discipline, and creation. Your emotional intelligence becomes the reason they feel small next to you. They expected to see you broken. They expected chaos, but what they meet instead is growth. The most painful thing for someone who once hurt you is seeing that their actions no longer define you. You've built an inner world they cannot access. You've created a mindset they cannot influence. You've developed a peace they cannot disturb. This is why Stoicism hits so deeply. It doesn't just make you stronger, it makes you untouchable. Your calmness forces them to confront their own immaturity. Your stability exposes their instability. Your growth highlights their stagnation. This is the response they never forget, not silence, but evolution. Not withdrawal, but maturity. Not revenge, but self-mastery. And before we move into the next section, remember to subscribe to this channel so you never miss the wisdom that strengthens your inner fortress. What comes next will make you even more unshakable. 4. The new life that exposes their old behavior. People expect you to stay emotionally wounded after they mistreat you. They assume your life will remain paused while they move on, but one of the deepest Stoic truths is this: your comeback doesn't need to be loud to be powerful. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the best revenge is to be unlike the person who hurt you. When you rebuild your life with maturity and direction, you expose the immaturity behind their behavior without saying a single word. Many people discover too late that the person they once took for granted is now living a life they no longer have access to. It happens in friendships, relationships, workplaces, everywhere. A person disrespects you when they believe you'll stay available no matter how they treat you. But when they return and see that your life has moved forward beautifully without them, it forces them to confront a painful truth: they were never essential to your evolution. Seneca said that life is long if you know how to use it. When you start using your time for growth instead of dwelling on people, your life expands beyond the past. A real example of this is when someone who hurt you suddenly resurfaces after seeing your progress. They notice your glow, your discipline, your peace. They sense a change in your energy, not a forced confidence, but a genuine elevation. Epictetus taught that happiness and freedom begin with clearly understanding what is within your control. Once you stop trying to fix people and start fixing your life, their opinion loses power over you. They realize your silence wasn't weakness, it was preparation. When you reinvent your daily habits, you reinvent your identity. Maybe you started working out, reading more, controlling your emotions, or developing your business. Maybe you replaced toxic conversations with books from the Stoics. Maybe you stopped chasing people and started chasing your potential. This internal shift becomes externally visible. Einstein said that life is like riding a bicycle. To keep your balance, you must keep moving. Your forward motion becomes your personal defense. It shows anyone who doubted you that your life is bigger than their absence. The person who once dismissed your value begins to study you from a distance. They replay old conversations, rethink their actions, and question their decisions. Not because you asked them to, but because your new lifestyle forces reflection. Your progress becomes their mirror, and mirrors don't lie. When someone sees you thriving in areas they expected you to fail, they feel the weight of their choices more deeply than any silent treatment ever could. This is why Stoicism teaches mastery over revenge. Your new life is the response. Your growth is the message. Your peace is the consequence. You don't need to explain anything, defend anything, or chase closure. Your progress provides clarity, and it delivers a sting that silence alone could never achieve. Before we continue to the next section, remember to subscribe to this channel to stay grounded in this wisdom that strengthens your inner world. 5. The control they thought they had is gone. Control is the quiet addiction of insecure people. They mistreat you because they believe you need them. They ignore you because they expect you to chase. They disrespect you because they assume you won't walk away. But when your silence evolves into independence, the illusion of their control collapses. Marcus Aurelius taught that you are not harmed by what others do, but by how you perceive it. When your perception changes, their power disappears. A real-life scenario explains this well. Imagine someone who believes they can pull you back into emotional chaos whenever they want. They expect you to react with the same intensity as before. But then something unexpected happens, you don't respond. Not out of anger, not out of punishment, but because you truly don't feel affected anymore. This is the moment your silence becomes irreversible. Seneca warned that people lose control over you the moment you stop needing them. Your emotional detachment becomes your strength. Epictetus said that no person is free unless they master themselves. When you master your emotions, their behavior no longer dictates your mood. You stop living in reaction to their actions. You stop trying to impress someone who doesn't value you. You stop seeking validation from the person who wounded you. This emotional liberation hits harder than silence. The person who once manipulated your emotions now faces a version of you they cannot influence. Their tactics no longer work. Their games fall flat. Their arrogance meets your peace, and peace always wins. Einstein believed that insanity is doing the same thing repeatedly and expecting different results. That is exactly how someone feels when they try to provoke you and fail. They keep testing the same buttons, not realizing those buttons no longer exist. Your growth erased them, your healing rewired them, your boundaries replaced them. You have become emotionally untouchable. This loss of control over you becomes the deepest pain for someone who was once addicted to your reactions. This shift exposes a simple psychological truth: people only value control when it works. Once it stops working, they lose interest or panic. Some people will suddenly change their tone, try to be kinder, or attempt to reconnect. Others will become angry or confused. Both reactions come from the same realization: they no longer own a part of you. Your evolution took back everything they thought was theirs: your mind, your peace, your attention, your loyalty, your energy. When they can't control you anymore, they try to understand you. They study your silence, your boundaries, your new habits. They wonder who helped you change, what inspired you, and when the shift happened. What they don't realize is that your strength was built from the pain they once caused. You learned discipline through heartbreak. You gained clarity through confusion. You found yourself through the darkness they left you in. Your silence hurt a little. But your growth, that hurts the most. And that is exactly why Stoicism teaches self-mastery above everything else. Because once you master yourself, no one can ever control you again. 6. The peace they can't enter anymore. There is a kind of peace that comes after chaos, and it changes everything about you. It's the peace that arrives when you finally stop negotiating your value with people who never appreciated it. It's the peace that grows when you stop explaining, defending, or trying to prove anything. Marcus Aurelius said that peace comes from within, not from the opinions of others. Once you understand this, the person who hurt you becomes irrelevant to your emotional world. People who once created chaos in your life expect to still have access to your mind. They expect you to be triggered by their presence, wounded by their absence, or confused by their actions. But the moment you're truly healed, they lose their ability to disturb your inner world. Seneca said that the mind is invincible once it stops fearing pain. When you stop fearing the loss of someone who brought you nothing but emotional uncertainty, their power shatters completely. Real life proves this every day. Someone leaves your life thinking you'll collapse. But time passes, you rebuild, you learn, you become grounded, and when they try to re-enter your life, they find a version of you that no longer allows chaos. You're calm, composed, focused, and centered. This peace shocks them more than silence ever could. Because silence can be temporary, but peace is permanent. Einstein believed that a calm mind sees solutions that a chaotic mind misses. Your new peace becomes your strength. It makes you think clearer, move smarter, and choose better. You don't fall into emotional traps anymore. You don't respond to drama. You don't chase anyone. Your peace becomes your new identity. And for the one who hurt you, this is deeply unsettling. They used to influence your emotions so easily. Now they can't even enter your mental space. Epictetus taught that if something is outside your control, let it go. When you embrace this truth, you free yourself from the emotional grip of those who wounded you. They realize your peace didn't come from them apologizing. It didn't come from closure. It didn't come from revenge. Your peace came from self-mastery. You chose to move forward. You chose to heal. You chose to create a life where their presence, absence, words, or silence no longer matter. This is what hurts people the most, not your distance, but your emotional independence. They return expecting the old arguments, the old pain, the old reactions. But what they meet is a version of you that is too healed, too evolved, and too peaceful to be disrupted. You respond with boundaries instead of anger. You respond with clarity instead of confusion. You respond with silence because you simply have nothing left to say. This peace becomes a wall they cannot climb. A space they cannot enter. A version of you they cannot touch. And once they experience that, they finally understand, your silence wasn't the punishment. Your healing was. 7. The final door that hurts more than silence. There comes a point in your growth where you close a door, not out of spite, but out of self-respect. This door is invisible, but it is powerful. It's the door that separates your healed self from your old patterns. It's the door that separates your future from your past. Marcus Aurelius said that the happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. Once your thoughts evolve, you naturally close doors that lead backward. And nothing hurts those who wronged you more than realizing that door will never open for them again. The moment you finally shut that emotional door, everything changes. You stop responding to their attempts to reconnect. You stop entertaining their excuses. You stop giving them chances. You stop giving them a role in a story that no longer belongs to them. Seneca taught that every new beginning comes from the end of something that no longer serves you. Once you accept this, the person who hurt you loses their final hope of controlling your life. Real life shows this in the most unexpected ways. Someone who once treated you as an option tries to come back, assuming time healed everything. But when they meet your new boundaries, strong, calm, and unshakable, they realize they have no place in your future. Epictetus taught that freedom begins the moment you stop allowing someone else to govern your emotions. Once you take that power back, the emotional door closes permanently. Einstein believed that once your mindset shifts, everything around you shifts as well. Your energy changes, your standards rise, your expectations refine. And the people who once thrived on your insecurity now suffocate in your absence. They knock on the door, but nothing inside responds. They send messages, but they no longer reach the version of you who cared. They try to trigger old emotions, but those emotions are gone. This is the moment they feel the deepest pain, far deeper than silence. Silence can be temporary. But when the final door closes, it is permanent. You have outgrown them completely. You have detached fully. You have risen beyond the level where their opinion matters. The person they once hurt has evolved into someone they can no longer access. And this is the final lesson. Your greatest power is not silence, but self-respect. It is the courage to close the door and never reopen it. It is the maturity to protect your peace. It is the wisdom to understand that some people only return when they sense you've healed. And that is exactly why the door must remain closed. Before we move to the final outro, kindly subscribe to this channel. Your growth deserves guidance, and your mind deserves strength. Finally, healing is not about hurting anyone back, it's about choosing yourself in ways you never did before. Everything you've listened to today is a reminder that your strength was never in silence alone, but in the person you became because of that silence. Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, and Einstein all carried the same truth in different forms. The most powerful transformation in life is internal. When you change your mind, you change your world. And when you change your world, people who once misused you no longer recognize you, because they were only familiar with your past, not your evolution. You've learned why the real pain for those who wronged you isn't your distance, but your growth. It isn't your silence, but your peace. It isn't your absence, but your transformation. These lessons aren't just words, they are tools. Tools to rebuild your confidence, tools to reclaim your worth, and tools to walk into a future where you protect your heart with wisdom, not fear. The version of you that listens to Stoic wisdom is not the version they remember, and that is your greatest victory. Before you go, I want to ask you for one simple favor. If this message resonated with you, if it gave you strength, if it helped you understand yourself better, please subscribe to this channel. It helps this community grow, it supports the work behind every message, and it allows more people like you to find the wisdom they need to rebuild their inner world. Do me that favor, subscribe, stay with this family, and continue becoming the strongest version of yourself. Your journey is just beginning.